I'm flying solo today, and I'm going to be sharing some of my own personal experiences and also some insights from my patient and client interactions. And we're going to focus our topic today on mental health awareness, especially regarding social connections. I know that I've been very transparent in a lot of our previous episodes and in a lot of the webinars that I do, and really anywhere that anybody ever talks to me, I'm very open about my own history with mental health conditions and issues, specifically bipolar disorder and depression and some anxiety thrown in there too. And of course, I'm sure I'm not the only one, especially if you are listening to this. You've probably heard me say a lot of times in past episodes that I try to be as transparent and as possible because I want to break the stigma around mental health issues. I feel like a lot of us are probably going through a lot of different things at a lot of different times. And so maybe whatever I'm sharing with you resonates and you are going to be a little bit motivated or inspired to make some changes or at least to apply some of what I'm sharing with you today, just to make sure that you're setting yourself up on a path to success when it comes to your overall well-being. It's a little bit easier said than done, though, sometimes, because at least for me, I know that when I get into some of these spirals, it does affect my health, my habits, my appetite, my willingness to want to be among people. And over the course of the, I don't know, let's say last 40-ish years or so, where I've really started understanding a lot about who I am and the toolkit that I have and the therapy sessions that I've been in, I've been able to not necessarily overcome, but better manage my situations. And what used to end up having me, bedridden for days on end, now I'm starting to be able to come out of that spiral, that, downward negativity that I sometimes end up in. And so the things that I really enjoy doing, a lot of things that bring me out of that doldrum, I love dancing. I love listening to music. I love singing out loud, even though nobody might be listening to me. And I like connecting with people, which if you see me on the outside, what I'm about to share with you, right? You probably have seen, well, I mean, even here too, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you are listening to the language and the voice that I'm using, I come across as very friendly, very comfortable, very outgoing. Some people think I am an extrovert, but truth be told, I can definitely go a little bit on the inside sometimes. So that said, while I don't love crowds or a lot of group activity sometimes, I really do vibe on the energy of the people that I'm with, especially if I love them dearly, like my friends and family. So I want to share a little bit about the role that social connection does play, especially for our mental health. And then, of course, just like anything, those factors can then affect how we are making choices with food, with sleep, with stress, with our physical activity, anything that we are hoping to play a more active role in order to maintain or pursue a healthful outcome. Again, just a quick caveat, not everybody has access to or the ability to implement the things that I'm about to say. So I'm going to give a little bit of everything. I'm going to try to give a little bit of advice that hopefully can be applied no matter what your situation is. And if not, reach out to me. Let me know anything that you might need support on or your lived experience. This way I can learn and grow and make sure that I'm providing you with whatever resources you might need going forward. So let's talk first about just the role that connection plays, right? The ability to be around people. Again, diversifying our social circles is really huge, at least for me too. I live and work in New York City in the East Village. I also work up in the Bronx. We have a very diverse group of people up there, both in cultures and I mean, age ranges, and especially for me, because I work as a healthcare provider, there's also a lot of different chronic conditions and people pursuing different means to an end of managing their own well-being. So I have a wide variety of people that I'm very fortunate to work with and who end up teaching me a lot of things too. So that's number one, is just like being open to the connection of others, asking curious questions, not being afraid to ask questions too. I think sometimes we get embarrassed or we're not sure of the language that we might be able to use if we are unsure about a specific situation or a person. I want to give an example like a disability. Obviously, you don't want to come out and blatantly ask a question that might feel disrespectful. But if you are curious about something and somebody who's on the receiving end of that is open to sharing their story, that's how we learn. That's how we are able to grow and understand each other a little bit better. And then also we can help empower them or advocate for whatever their needs might be if they need us to do so. So before we can do any of that, though, we really need to foster a relationship with ourselves. Well do you know yourself? How often are you reflecting on things? What's the language that you use when you do or do not make certain choices in your life, whether or not that is something that serves you or doesn't serve you? So think about the way that you're treating yourself and the way that you treat others. I know there's an old adage about that as well, but we really, we can't, as the saying goes, we can't pour from an empty cup. And so it's important to constantly be trying to replenish those stores and re-energize ourselves. And one of the ways to do that is with self-compassion, making sure that you are treating yourself with the same kindness and compassion that you would offer a friend. Maybe not a stranger if you feel a little apprehensive about that, but at least somebody who is close to you. Acknowledging that your feelings are there and exist without judgment. Allow yourself to be in that. Say, this too shall pass, if that's something that you believe to be true, or just allowing yourself to just honor whatever it is that you're going, whatever emotion you're going through, and just let it kind of meditate on it, marinate in it, and come out the other end, possibly learning a little bit more about yourself or whatever lesson might come out of that. This also leads into mindfulness and reflection. I think I did a solo episode a while back about mindful eating, but there's also mindfulness and reflection on a variety of other things too. Whatever thoughts and emotions, practices, journaling, walking through nature, just kind of being silent. And in New York City here, it's sometimes very hard to do that, to be in any area of this neighborhood or traveling to and from on the subway. Obviously, it's quite loud and noisy, but there's something about trying to see if you can overcome the external factors or energies around you and really just focus on what's going on inside and accepting who you are. And that hopefully can foster a deeper understanding of your own person, your own character. Self-care routines. I've talked plenty of times about this too, I believe both in the podcast and in other settings that I've been in, where somebody like me who does suffer from depression or bipolar disorder, there's a lot of ups and downs that we go through. And something as simple as brushing our teeth, washing our face, taking a shower, like just keeping clean and hygienic sometimes falls away. We get caught up in the doldrums of things, or it feels like one day has passed when really 5 days has passed. So, think about things that you can do of prioritizing taking care of your own body and mind. And it could just be as simple as brushing your teeth as soon as you get up in the morning, or some mindful movement, exercising, going for a walk, or however it is that you can move in whatever way that you can move. Relaxing with a good book, allowing yourself the bedtime routine to wind down so that whatever stresses of the day happened can fall by the wayside and you're able to then enter into sleep in a much more peaceful way. So then once I'm not going to say you've accomplished it. You can't complete these things. This is a journey, my friends. This is a journey. So it's not like we're going to come to the end of any of our movements through these routines and these habits and be like, poof, I'm done, perfection. We're going to just continue progressing through that and making changes and adjustments as situations show themselves. So once you have implemented some fostering relationship with yourself, we'll talk a little bit about now with fostering or building relationships with others. Family and friends, right? So this sometimes is crucial because you live with these people and it's important to be there for each other, provide emotional support, or maybe you enjoy just being part of a group and a sense of belonging. This can also help you vent and engage in activities that let you forget about some of the heavier things of your day. And of course, this is also a caveat here where assuming that your friends and family are not toxic to you, because if that is the case, if that is the relationship that you have with certain people in your life, then obviously you would hopefully not be having to be around them, or at least being around them as little as possible, because we want to make sure that we are supporting you and your mental health. Community engagement. So this is something I think for me, when I'm feeling really in the weeds and my head's getting a little bit off, I like to volunteer. And so I can be a variety of different things. I could volunteer in the community, I could work at a food pantry or a soup kitchen, or I could do community gardening, or sometimes I just quote unquote volunteer by doing free things however I deem appropriate. So I could put on a workshop for some community center, or I could set up a table at a community or a neighborhood health fair. And so that helps me establish some connections with complete strangers, and I get new conversations that happen. I feel a sense of camaraderie too, because there's definitely something that we have in common, whether it's something from campus or school or my neighborhood. And this then extends that circle that I have then grown out, and not just for the sake of me running and building a business, but really just feeling like I'm a part of something a little bit bigger than myself. If you, like I am, if you cobble together a lot of things, you don't necessarily work a traditional or a conventional full-time 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job, or maybe you are a solopreneur. Like I have a private practice. I do a lot of things in my own home office. So I don't talk to coworkers. Like I don't have coworkers. So if that's something that you are struggling with as well, making sure that you're reaching out to to have some sort of engagement in a community setting would be really cool. Professional support also, again, no shame in the game. Going to therapy, seeking counseling in some way by a qualified professional. It's one thing to talk to your friends about stuff, but sometimes they just want to be there to support you and enable your whatever your stance is on things. And I really do recommend making sure you reach out to somebody who is qualified. That could be a clergy person if you go to church, that could be a social worker if you want to go to therapy, that could be a wellness center where they might have a life coach or a health coach that is there to listen a little bit more objectively to certain things and allow you to see different paths and different ways to kind of overcome whatever stress you might be going through. So counselors at school, if you're in school, I know for us, we have a variety of different services that are provided to the students, but we also have a department of counseling. So students can set up an appointment with an actual behavioral therapist and talk through some stuff there to help them, get some professional help if they need. And in the US, although I'm sure this is globally as well, there are definitely hotlines and other resources that you can reach out to. Here we now have, if you call 988, that is more of a crisis helpline. So if things are feeling like very much overwhelming and you're not exactly sure what to do, or you feel like you might be in harm's way, harming yourself or harming someone else, then I would highly recommend immediately calling 988 and have them talk you through some things. So again, we're trying to enforce your feelings, honor your feelings, respect your feelings, and then give you an opportunity to see how you can see the bigger picture of things and allow yourself to engage in some other way to support your overall connections, your overall well-being. So let's talk a little bit too about some ideas as to reaching out and taking new steps, maybe things outside of your comfort zone. Or, I mean, if you're like me, are you like me? I don't know. I've never really heard back specifically as to what resonates with you as a listener and what I'm sharing on here. But if you are like me, here are my things. I live in a very small apartment in the East Village in New York City. It is exactly as you would think. I actually had done a kitchen/apartment tour a while back on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, you can go through my highlights because I think I saved them on there. And I think in one of my most recent blog posts, I also put a link in to that video. It's really tiny. Anyway, my point is that one of the things is to host a dinner party, invite people over for game night, have people come in and do a potluck dinner or something like that. So even if you live in a teeny tiny apartment like I do, I've had at one time 13 people in this place. And I mean, we moved chairs and tables around and we put chairs and tables in, and it was very, very tight. And I don't do things like that quite often. And there was a reason we were doing a viewing party. So everybody was coming in, coming and going throughout the day and stopping in, eating, etc., and socializing. And it was just really cool. It was really cool to have a gathering like that because, again, that energy, that vibe, the conversations that happen, the reunions, the reconnections with people I hadn't seen in some time, I think was really wonderful to be in. And it definitely, I mean, yes, I had to do a lot of dishes and clean when they were done, but I was really riding on that energy for quite some time after that. So consider things like that. If you have the space, or even if you don't have the space, maybe within that limited construct of whatever your space may be, to host something and say, come here and let's do this. It could be something that you're watching on television. You could do a book club. You can have a theme night where you pick a different whatever theme, as in maybe like a masquerade dress up thing, or maybe a theme like experience a different culture's cuisine. So maybe you do a French night or a Thai night or Italian night or whatever it is that you're interested in. You could also, especially here in the city, so if you live in a more, I guess, like urban-ish type of area or a larger city, there's definitely a lot going on. So check out some of your meetup groups. We have a variety of New York City websites and social media accounts that can tell you like what's going on. So we have food festivals, we have free movies in the park, we have a lot of things actually. There's a whole like dance and symphony thing in Bryant Park in the summer specifically, and then in the winter they do the winter festival there as well, where they actually have an ice skating rink set up. So again, all of this is bringing people together and socializing, especially in things that you enjoy doing. Like I'm not a big group person per se. I don't like joining in a group if I don't know the people necessarily. Even when it comes to exercising, I don't love classes. Like I don't like going to an aerobics class or a spin class. I'd rather just go on my own and be quiet in my own mind and let that be part of kind of my therapy sessions in a way. But I do enjoy going out and hanging out with people that I know and love. If you're interested in doing things that are more food based, you can also join something like a cooking class. Sometimes these are not as expensive if they're held in like community centers, or if your food pantry or soup kitchen in your neighborhood has things that extend out of this. Like I'm thinking up in the Bronx, we have the Women, Infants, and Children Centers, the WIC Center there, and they do community-based programming. So they'll do food demos where people can watch and learn and get samples. So again, you're bringing community together. Maybe you're on your own when you show up there, or maybe you go with people that you know. So I would highly recommend checking out, either just literally searching online or in your map, searching something like that, whatever is available to you, community centers, cooking classes, etc., meetups, like I mentioned before, festivals that are taking place. I mean, hello, we are from the future. You can search anything online, just put a bunch of words together, and I'm sure with your zip code, and I'm sure lots of things will pop up. Picnics in the park, especially when it gets really nice. If you don't mind grass and maybe potentially some bugs or ants, then doing something like that where it's a relaxed setting, you're already in nature. There might be a stream or a lake or some body of water. And if you're like me, I also like being near water as well. And like I mentioned earlier too, if you do feel yourself kind of getting a little low and or feeling very stressed out, to volunteer to do something. So maybe you're doing a food drive or a charity work, and that's another way to connect with people who have like-mindedness, who are interested in the same things that you are as well. If you have the budget to do so, or sometimes you can even look up things like tasting menus. You can dine out, explore new restaurants, new cuisines, have it be an adventure. Again, like I mentioned with the dinner parties at home and doing a theme night, instead, maybe you pick a different restaurant in your vicinity or a different brunch venue, and and make that kind of a regular thing, whether it's once a month, once a quarter, once every 6 months, whatever the case may be, whatever works within the structure of your schedule, your budget, and hopefully you'll get some ideas out of the things that I just discussed. So let's commit. Let's commit to try. I mean, we're almost done with the month of May at the time of this recording, but listen, this is an ongoing process for all of us, right? It's important for us to check in with ourselves on a regular basis. It's important for us to speak out, reach out, and ask for support when needed. And even if you don't love being in groups or don't love doing group activities, at least getting together with a couple of people on a regular basis and just allowing yourself to share and be in that energy and kind of riff off of each other. Hopefully, that will allow you to continue practicing self-compassion, create a supportive, connected community, and that will help support your overall health, mental health and physical well-being as well. And then hopefully then that maybe extends into some of the habits that you're making, and it all is interconnected, my friends. We can't be perfect, like I said before, but we can definitely try to progress and see where we can maybe find opportunities to improve upon. And especially if you are able to extend whatever you can do to people are in need, then that might be helpful as well. So I hope you've gotten some takeaways from this episode. Please leave some feedback, share as always, and I will see you, hear you again in the next one.